The Scottish Parliamentary election for the Thursday 7th of May 2026. This is the candidates and agents pre-nomination awareness session, and we're doing this on Monday the 16th of March, and I'm saying that because this is going to be recorded as well. So if I can just remind you, we have advised this in advance, the session is being recorded. Now, a nomination pack is available which contains nomination papers for constituency candidates as well as other supporting information. We will email this to all attendees after this session along with a link to the recording. If you would prefer a hard copy of the nomination pack, please let our team know and they'll arrange this for you. So if I can just start to go through the slides now. So good evening, my name's Paul Manning. I'm the Constituency Returning Officer. I'm also the Chief Executive of South Lanarkshire Council, and I'd like to welcome you to this pre-nomination awareness session for the Scottish Parliamentary elections. So thank you for attending, and hopefully you'll find this useful. I'd also like to introduce Ian Strachan, Nicky Jarvie, who are the Constituency Deputy Returning Officers, and we've also got Laura Jardine from the Elections Office with us this afternoon. Now, the aims for this session are as summarised on your agenda: to provide information on standing at this election and the nomination process, to highlight key dates on the timetable of election, to discuss what happens after the close of nominations, to provide information on local contacts and arrangements for the election, and to give an opportunity to ask questions. So some of you are well versed in the pre-nomination information, but for the benefit of all attendees, I'm going to cover what you need to know to assist you in your considerations as we head towards the opening of nominations. Now, there's a reasonable amount of information provided to you in the nomination pack that I'm sure you'll find useful. I will work through the agenda, but please feel free to ask questions by using the raise hands function at any point in time, and of course there'll be a further opportunity for questions at the end. For the avoidance of doubt, when I refer to nominations in the documents and in the session tonight and later session, we mean the nomination process for the constituency contests only. Nominations for the regional contests are handled by the regional returning officers, and further information will be provided on that later on in this briefing. So, first of all, we're going to talk about the returning officer and electoral registration officer responsibilities. There is often confusion on the roles of the returning officer, and that person gets referred to as the RO, and the electoral registration officer, that's the ERO. And perhaps that's due to the fact that in England, the RO and the ERO are often the same person. Scotland, that isn't the case. The two positions are legally distinct. So in Scotland, the returning officer is most often the chief executive of the council, but there are some exceptions. And the returning officer is personally responsible for the running of the election and can appoint deputies with full or specific powers to assist. So as returning officer, I have in place an elections team led by Nicky, who will carry out the day-to-day running of the election. She's likely to be your first point of contact. As constituency returning officer, I am responsible for conducting the election arrangements in the constituencies of South Lanarkshire, which are number 1, Clydesdale, 2, East Kilbride, 3, Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse, and 4, Rutherglen and Cambuslang. Now, for clarity, while parts of Uddingston fall within South Lanarkshire, the constituency of Uddingston and Bells Hill will be managed and administered by North Lanarkshire Council. The current in-person and postal vote electoral figures are on that slide, which is on the screen for you to note. Now, these will change slightly before the election, but we will update these for both the post-nomination briefing session and the poll and count sessions which will follow. So, as Constituency Returning Officer, a summary of my aims are ensuring candidates, agents, media and the public accept and have confidence in the election arrangements and results, that the constituency election is transparent to those scrutinising and observing the processes, that assistance is given to candidates and agents to understand what's involved at the count, that clear and helpful information is provided to candidates and agents both prior to and during the various events, and that the number of queries or complaints that may arise is reduced. So to assist in achieving these aims, please contact the election team as soon as any issues arise that we may be able to help with. There are also regional returning officers, so they get referred to as RROs, whose responsibilities lie in overseeing the regional contests in their area. Now, the RRO for each region is responsible for the running of the regional contest, including nomination arrangements, the preparation of statutory notices, including notice of election, notice of poll, collation and calculation of the votes in order to allocate seats, and the overall declaration of results for the regional contest. Now, for the regional vote, South Lanarkshire is split across two regions. Firstly, Glasgow, and secondly, South Scotland. The regional returning officer for Glasgow is the Chief Executive of Glasgow City Council, and for South Scotland, it will be the Chief Executive of Dumfries and Galloway Council. The constituency of Rutherglen and Cambuslang will be within the Glasgow region, and the constituencies of Clydesdale, East Kilbride and Clydesdale, East Kilbride and Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse will be within the South Scotland region. Now, as I previously explained, Uddingston and Bells Hill is being administered by North Lanarkshire Council. That constituency falls within Central Scotland and Lothian's West region, and that's also being administered by North Lanarkshire Council. Now, the electoral registration officer, and in Scotland, that person is appointed by the local authority. They are responsible for the preparation and maintenance of the register of electors and the lists of absent voters within their area. Now, the ERO for South Lanarkshire is Jacqueline Dell. The key deadline dates for the electoral registration officer are as follows. So the registration deadline is midnight on Monday, the 20th of April 2026. The deadline for new postal votes and postal proxy applications and for changes to existing postal or proxy arrangements is 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 21st of April. Cancellations to existing postal and proxy arrangements must be made by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 21st of April. And the deadline for new proxy applications is 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 28th of April. And the deadline for emergency proxy applications is 5 p.m. on polling day. That's Thursday, the 7th of May. So the next slide looks at other parties who are involved in election arrangements. So in addition to the election team at South Lanarkshire Council, the key bodies involved in the election include the Electoral Commission. So the Electoral Commission are responsible for registration of political parties, campaign election expenses, reporting on election arrangements and providing guidance. Now, they have a whole number of helpful documents on their website, and their website is at www.electoralcommission, all one word, all lowercase, .org.uk. Okay, the next party that we've got relate to the Scottish Government. They're obviously responsible for the legislation of the election. We've got suppliers. So I have appointed Mailmetrics. And Mailmetrics, you might remember previously, as being called Criticom. And they're the supplier who have produced our poll cards. And IDOC's Elections have been appointed as the supplier who will produce the ballot papers and the postal voting packs. The Royal Mail provide a mailing service to candidates, and their documentation is contained in your nomination pack detailing that service. Police Scotland are also involved, and police officers will visit polling places periodically on polling day, and they'll also attend the count. So the next slide looks at the election timetable. So the timetable for the Scottish Parliamentary election spans 35 working days. A copy of the main dates is provided in the nomination pack. It is worth highlighting a couple of the key dates. So the notice of election was published today, right, on Monday, the 16th of March. The nomination period begins on Tuesday, the 17th of March at 10 a.m. And nominations can be lodged any weekday between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. And that's until the statutory deadline of 4 p.m. on Wednesday, the 1st of April. Pre-checks can be carried out during normal working hours. Now, I'd strongly encourage you to submit your papers for checking as early as possible and make an appointment to ensure that staff are on hand to help you without delay. And appointments can be made by contacting our election office on 01698 454745 or emailing elections@southlanarkshire, all one word, all lowercase, .gov.uk. Now, the notice of poll will be published shortly after the close of nominations on Wednesday, the 1st of April. And that will detail who is validly nominated for each constituency. We will also be displaying the regional notices for the Glasgow and South Scotland regions, and we will display the constituency and regional notices for North Lanarkshire Council in respect of Uddingston and Bells Hill. The key dates regarding registration and absent voting have already been highlighted to you. So the next slide starts to look at eligibility and goes on to talk about dual candidacy. Now, to stand for election, you must have attained the age of 18 or over at the day of nomination. You must be a British citizen, an Irish citizen, an eligible Commonwealth citizen, or a qualifying foreign national. There is no requirement in law for you to be a registered elector in Scotland. Also, you must not be disqualified from standing. And matters of eligibility or disqualification are detailed in the nomination pack. Some of you may be on your party's list for the region, or if you're an independent candidate, you may also be considering whether to stand in the regional contest. So dual candidacy is where someone stands as a candidate in both the constituency and the regional contest. And there are a few rules in respect of this, which are detailed on the screen. The constituency you're standing in must be within the region. You must stand for the same party in both contests or be independent in both. You cannot stand in more than one constituency or in more than one region. And if you're elected at the constituency election, your name will be disregarded at the allocation of regional seats. So the next slide looks at nomination papers and what we've termed some top tips. The Electoral Commission website contains a wealth of information on how to complete your nomination papers, and we have included within your packs an annotated version of the forms which show you how to fill these in accurately. There are also YouTube videos prepared by the Electoral Commission contained on the website, which walk you through step by step. I would encourage you to take the time to review all of this supporting information However, the election team will be on hand to answer any questions you may have about the papers. The nomination papers must be completed in English, and there are parts which have very specific rules for completion. Now, this includes how you specify your full name and your full home address. Your home address will not be displayed on any notices or shared wider. However, if you're acting as your own election agent and you do not have a separate correspondence or office address and you're using your home address, this will be published. More information is contained in the pack regarding this. Your signature and your witness details are a very important aspect of the form. Descriptions depend on whether you're a party or an independent candidate. So, for example, if you're standing for a party, your description could be the South Lanarkshire Party or the Scottish South Lanarkshire Party. You must be authorised to use the party's name. Now, again, full information on this is provided in the pack. If you're an independent candidate, you can only use independent as your description. Your deposit of £500 must be paid in order for your nomination to be valid. I would suggest contacting the elections team as soon as possible to discuss arrangements for making payment. We accept back transfer or payment by debit or credit card, or you can pay cash. So the next slide starts to look at what happens after the close of nominations. So I've included a post-nomination session on Tuesday the 7th of April at 5 p.m. in the council headquarters here at Almada Street, Hamilton, or via MS Teams to provide you with the list of candidates standing. That is the statutory notice of poll and statement of persons nominated, the list of election agents for each of the candidates, the appointment of polling, counting and postal vote agents forum to allow you to request passes, which I'd ask you to return as quickly as possible to allow a final allocation of passes to be determined. And we'll also, at that session on the 7th of April, provide you with an update on the preparation for the poll, postal votes and count. Now, you'll automatically be invited to attend this briefing session to ensure that you're aware of the next steps being taken by me for the poll, postal votes and the count. So the next slide that we've got on the screen looks at poll cards. Now, they'll be dispatched to the Royal Mail tomorrow for those people registered before the 6th of February this year, in good time to inform voters of the deadlines for voting arrangements. 2 additional runs of poll cards will thereafter be sent out to those registered by midnight on Monday, the 20th of April, which is the registration deadline. Now, the next slide looks at postal votes. Now, the current postal vote electorate is around 41,000. The deadline for postal vote applications has already been highlighted as 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 21st of April. And application forms are downloadable from the Electoral Registration Office website or from www.gov.uk/register to vote. Issue of postal votes, they'll be posted first class between the 15th and 17th of April. There will be a final run around the date of the 27th of April. We're in regular dialogue with Royal Mail and are encouraging voters to complete and return their postal voting packs as soon as possible. Now, on the opening of postal votes, stage 1 will take place from Monday the 20th of April 2026. Postal votes will be opened from Monday the 27th of April. More details of the opening sessions including the difference between stage 1 and full opening, will be provided in due course. Postal voters are required by law to provide their signature unless this is waived, and date of birth on the postal voting statement, which is returned with their ballot paper. The signature and date of birth are compared with those provided at the time of applying for the postal vote, and if either of those do not match or there's missing information, then the postal vote will be rejected and therefore not included in the count. Now, I'm keen to ensure that as few postal votes are rejected as possible and put arrangements in place to raise awareness of the procedures followed. If you can please ensure that you're aware of the Electoral Commission's Code of Conduct on handling of postal votes, where you're asked to adhere to two key principles. Firstly, that you uphold the secrecy of the ballot, and secondly, that you should not place yourselves in a situation where your honesty or integrity can be questioned. So the next slide talks about the count. Now, at the post-nomination awareness session, we'll provide more information on the poll, postal votes, and the count. But for the moment, I'll advise you the following facts. In terms of the count venue, that's at the John Wright Sports Centre at Calderwood Road, East Kilbride, which the postcode is G74 3EU. We will also be utilising the bowling club at that site as well for the count. In terms of the timing of the count, as you may well be aware, it's a daytime count. So it'll take place on Friday, the 8th of May at 9 AM in the morning. The pre-count procedures, including the counting of the unused and tendered ballot papers, will take place on the morning of Friday, the 8th of May. Attendance at the count will be by pass only. And as I said earlier, a pro forma will be provided at the next briefing session for candidates and agents for that purpose. In terms of arrangements for counting, again, information will be provided at the next session, and more detailed information on the count will be provided at the final briefing session, and that takes place on Tuesday, the 28th of April. So the next slide just covers our own public awareness campaign. So South Lanarkshire has our own plan, which includes, in terms of local measures, web information. We have information on our webpage, which you can find by going to www.southlanarkshire, all one word, all lowercase, .gov.uk/elections. There are also tools located at that page which allow voters to check where they go to vote and what support is available for them should they require it. There are statutory notices, and they'll be posted in council buildings, libraries and halls where possible. We'll be working with minority groups in the council area to encourage registration and participation. And the Election and Electoral Registration Office helplines are there to assist voters or those who may not be familiar with the process. So in terms of what's next, this basically completes the update for this session, but can I just take the opportunity to remind you of those next two sessions? So the post-nomination session, 7th of April, 5 PM, and that will give post-nomination documents and information. And the poll and count session on the 28th of April, which has a focus on polling day and count arrangements. I would encourage you to attend these sessions just to make sure that you're aware of the plans leading up to and on polling day and at the count. Both sessions will take place either here in Committee Room 2 in the council offices in Almada Street, or on Microsoft Teams, again, if you wish to join online. In terms of useful information, again, we've put a slide up there that provides a bit of additional information, which you can see within your pack, which you might find useful, including security information from Police Scotland. can you please take the time to read this? The Access to Elected Office Fund is an initiative to encourage wider participation in elected office, and the Inclusion Scotland website contains more information on this. So that brings me to the end of the session. Does anybody have any questions? I don't think I've seen anybody's hand go up during today's session, but if anybody's got anything they're looking to ask, this is an opportunity, right? But other than that, as I've said earlier on, feel free to contact the elections office. So I'm not seeing any hands going up. So again, just to make that point, if you are looking for clarification at any point, please don't hesitate to contact the election team anytime, and they'll be happy to help in the lead up to the election.
David Valentine's got his hand.
Right, so again, can I thank you for your attendance?
Thank you. This has been really helpful. Do appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, David. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Colette. Thank you. Thanks, Elaine.
See you later.
Okay, so hopefully see you at the next briefing session. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Bye.
Maybe more than just me.
David, if you pop your question in the chat, if you have a question, or unmute your microphone, you should be able to ask it now. I think you put it in the chat, maybe. Apologies, David, we can't hear you in the room. Could you unmute yourself on your mic?
There we go. Is that it?
Perfect. That's us. We've got you now, David.
Yeah, I couldn't access that team meeting for about 20 minutes there. I had to uninstall and install about 20 times to get on to get into the end part of that meeting there. But what I was really had phoned earlier for was the application process to actually stand as a candidate in the Hamilton Stonehouse and Larkhall constituency. I've stood as an MP before. I know a fair bit about what's actually said, although I was quite interested. I've got dyslexia, and I was quite interested about the process for funds that are potentially available for people with disabilities and things like that to access democracy. So that's something of interest to me. But I don't know what else was talked about there, because I couldn't access it. And I had to, as I said, had to log in and out about 20 times to actually get access to the meeting, which I only just got at the very end there, just for your FYI.
Listen, David, really sorry that was your experience.
Mm.
What we did talk about back at the start, David, was that we're recording this session.
Right.
So this is going to go up, and I'll maybe just look to the elections team just to describe where you can get this and when.
Uh-huh.
But you'll be able to go on and see the full session.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
what the team in the room are saying to me, David, is that they'll send a link to you that will take you straight to that recording.
Right, that's terrific. That's great.
And that should be available tomorrow. And if there's any questions you've got off the back of that, if you could get back in touch with the team, and they'll be happy to pick them up with you.
Yeah, no, the team's been great so far, but the fact is, the point that was only one, it's only really the one, is the application process, and to get the application forms. That's why I had phoned in earlier on today, because I believe it starts tomorrow. So if it's really just to where to access it, they have to drop them in person. What's the situation with application forms and application process?
You come in.
Hi David, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, fine, great.
I'm happy to give you a call tomorrow if you want, and I can walk you through the process. We can send you a nomination pack that contains a lot of information about how you go about lodging your papers formally. We also advise that you send them in for an informal check. So I'll catch up with you separately if that's okay, and we can go through that.
It's virtually a 2 week window up to the 1st of April, is that correct?
Yeah, so we accept nominations between the hours of 10 and 4, Monday to Friday, and the period opens tomorrow at 10 AM and it closes at 4 PM on Wednesday, the 1st of April.
And the money has to be sent in by the 1st of April, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Right, that's fine. That's as long as I know all that. That's terrific. That's great. Okay, I'll have a wee look at it tomorrow. If you can send me the stuff by email, that would be absolutely terrific. And I'll have a look at what you've said today.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much. Sorry for missing you guys.
No, bye-bye, right?
Bye.
And see you later on, everybody else as well. Bye-bye now.
Thanks.